Hello everyone, welcome back to Durbanites FPL Game Week 21 review, Game Week 22 preview. This season is rushing towards the climax and it's all very exciting, especially on the table. So let's have a look. RoboKlopp still ahead after a pretty 50-50 week there, but look at that below. The title race, or at least the runners-up, are competing big time. 1,200, 1,197, 93, 91. So just 9 points separating the next four teams. And then you look at Fantasy, not too far behind as well. Look at 9th and 10th place, deadlocked and 4 points behind 8th place. So it's all happening on the table. Same in the second half as well. Just 3 points separating 11 and 12. Good weeks for both Fatih and Zai. Then Mohamed Sadiq just behind there, 8 points more behind, and then behind him then Ironwall FC still battles throughout the entire table, which is exciting to see. Now looking at what that was for our player selections, still only one staple, guys. Erling Haaland, 17 out of 20 managers are holding on to him, so that is him only. No other player shares that kind of confidence. Many are on the brink of that, but none of them have reached that yet. For the differentiators this week, Kevin Kelleher with that penalty save, two managers scoring from that. Fantastic for them. Nathan Collins coming up with his third return in a row, 2 managers scoring from that. Bruno Guimaraes, 3 managers having faith in him. He's also returned now in 4 out of the last 5. And Igor Thiago once again with Brentford doing really well. And 9 managers having faith in him this week. Now, if we look at our hits and misses, guys, big defensive displays there by Atta and Squish, as expected from Squishy. 30 plus points for them with that back line, including Collins. And then the Stonewalls for Fatih, Zai and Ami. On the Super Striker side, not as many as usual, but so are myself, Azra, Zax, Fatih and Hassan all pulling up with at least 20 points on the strikers, even though Erling Haaland just scored a single. But then on the elite strikers, Squish coming good with Igor Thiago as well in that starting lineup. Hassan picks up the hot bench for this week. I think 21 points sitting on the bench. Quite unfortunate for him. Would have definitely helped him climb up the table. Now, looking at the best possible selection for the team, we had Kevin Kelleher, not only the #1 jersey, but the captain's armband as well for the youngster. 26 points for him. Lewis Potter and Matty Cash getting in as the low budget options, and then Collins with his 13 there, Lacroix with 8 and Saliba with 7, finishing off that back 5. 3 in the center with Harry Wilson from Fulham, Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Anderson coming up there, and then you look at top 2, Thiago up front and Calvert-Lewin, his partner, putting Erling Haaland on the bench with just 6 points at 15.1. What an expensive bench. Dean Henderson taking up the backup goalkeeper, and then Anthony and Garner, the 2 midfielders, having just sit out just based on cost. Now looking at that total, 113 points, not a very high tally for this team. It was a difficult week of fixtures, 138 including the bench boost at a cost of 91.6 thanks to Erling Haaland. Now, time for us to start looking at the transfer market as well for the January window. Donyell Malen, a very surprise move, going from Aston Villa to AS Roma. Now guys, this just goes to show what is the issue with Aston Villa. Donyell Malen is playing really well. He had, I think, 7 goal involvements for them as well, performing pretty much as well as Ollie Watkins. However, due to financial concerns and PSR, they had an opportunity to move to AS Roma on an initial loan with a compulsion buy, and so Aston Villa had to say goodbye to Donyell Malen, which is quite unfortunate. Julian Araujo going from Bournemouth to Celtic, Fulkrug moving from West Ham to AC Milan, and Marshall Munetsi, the Zimbabwean, coming back, missing out on AFCON because of injury, but then leaving Wolves to join Paris FC in Ligue 1. So what does that mean? Looking at transfers in, just 3 that are notable so far. Furo coming in from Club Brugge to Brentford, Pascal Gross making a return from Dortmund to Brighton, and they're super happy to have him back, and also a good option for a goal-scoring midfielder. And Conor Gallagher, so far the highest profile move from Atletico Madrid to Tottenham Hotspur, waiting to see if he will start this weekend. He is available to play. Now, looking at the interleague moves, Antoine Semenyo finally did make his move from Bournemouth to Manchester City. A lot of clubs looking for his signature, and finally Manchester City have it. Buonanotte coming back from Chelsea to Brighton and then getting loaned out to Leeds United. And Brennan Johnson was one of the earliest transfers that went from Tottenham Hotspur to Crystal Palace. So far, nothing else on the transfer window, but we will keep you updated as it progresses. Looking at the matchups, quite a few dangerous matches there. So Brighton looking at Bournemouth, Fulham, and Everton coming up next. But if you can see in the long run, very tough games against very tough competition. So I'm not sure how Brighton are going to fare, so we'll call it out. Same with Crystal Palace, struggling a little bit. You will see that we've received news today, 2 blows for them. Number one, Mark Gahey is close to completing a move to Manchester City, so will not be available for selection for Crystal Palace this week, confirmed by Olivier Glasner. In the same press conference, he also confirmed that he will leave Crystal Palace in the summer at the end of his contract. So no Olivier Glasner for Crystal Palace next season, possibly moving to another club within the Premiership. That still remains to be seen, but Crystal Palace now in a bit of trouble. Liverpool, after Burnley this week, have some tough games coming up. Bournemouth, Man City, Newcastle, Sunderland, quite a few tough ones there, and having injury problems as well. And now with Mark Gahey looking set to join Manchester City, it means they still have their fragilities at the back. No cover for Van Dijk and Konate at this moment in time. Conor Bradley having a bad knee injury, so he's out. So we're looking at Joe Gomez having to deputise again as well, and Milos Kirk is still having some issues on the right. And Manchester United now without Ruben Amorim, now without Darren Fletcher, Michael Carrick coming in as the interim manager. Not sure how that will pan out. He has a tough start with Manchester City at home at Old Trafford and then going away to Arsenal at the Emirates to start off his tenure as interim manager. Let's see how that works out for him. In the meantime, though, Aston Villa seem to have a fairly good run coming up with Everton starting this weekend, and then some tricky fixtures against Newcastle and Bournemouth. But then if you look at it, you've got Brentford, Brighton, Leeds, Wolves, Chelsea and Manchester United, both of whom are struggling with form and struggling with new managers, and then West Ham. So Aston Villa with the form that they have, and Unai Emery being a very crafty character, look to them to try and maximize on this run. Bournemouth as well, aside from a one tricky fixture there against Liverpool, some very winnable fixtures as well, but this time without the talismanic Antoine Semenyo. But look at Marcus Tavernier to fill in that gap as well, and they're always good at finding talent to bring forward. Brentford as well have new signings coming in as well. Fairly good run to look at, except for Newcastle and Arsenal back to back. But in the short term and with good rotation, you can have a fairly good call out. Important one to talk about here in terms of Chelsea. Brentford and Crystal Palace, not tough games, and then a nice run of green there. But Chelsea at this moment in time, guys, new manager that has just come in from Strasbourg. Tough matches for him, tough results for him, except the win against Charlton Athletic. Another cup tie coming up as well for them against Arsenal, so it's not the easiest run for him, and he's still struggling to get his side on form. However, if you want to take a punt, you've got Enzo, Cole Palmer, Chalobah, all good additions in that run for Chelsea. Then looking down further down the table, Spurs have a good, at least on paper, 2 good fixtures coming up against West Ham and Burnley. The West Ham one, quite funnily, I saw being referred to as El Sacico, meaning that either one of the two managers is going to get sacked if they lose that one. It's still not confirmed, but indeed both of them are under a lot of pressure with Bruno and Thomas Frank. So Spurs also are bolstered though with Dominic Solanke looking fit to start, but unfortunately Richarlison pulling up with a hamstring issue, so going to take him out for 7 weeks. And then of course you've got Sunderland, fairly good run. Tough matches against Arsenal and Liverpool there ahead, but they are a solid defensive unit when they want to be, and they will have players coming back from AFCON, and that will really bring them back up to full strength. Now, looking at the selections as well from the back line, Emilio Martinez is definitely having some trouble, so not sure whether he will feature or Bizot will feature for Aston Villa. As you can see, a lot of issues with injuries there. Chelsea as well, Arsenal, Newcastle really missing out on some key defenders at this moment in time. And you can see Man City with Ruben Diaz having an issue, Guardiola having an issue, and there's Mark Gay. He's sitting right in the middle, guys. He is currently transfer blocked. He's not a Manchester City player as yet and will not feature for Manchester City. But Olivier Glasner has confirmed that because of the transfer deal being so close to being completed, he will not be available for selection for the match against Sunderland this week. So if you have Mark Gahey and you're looking to make that move as opposed to holding him as a player for Manchester City, now's the time. Then Crystal Palace still struggling with Munoz out, but Richards is back, so that's pretty good. Rodon out for Leeds, Branthwaite out for Everton, and Keane is suspended after that red card last week. In terms of our picks, Roofs for Sunderland against Crystal Palace is definitely one you can go for. Allison for Liverpool against Burnley, and Pope for a fairly long run for Newcastle. From the defensive side, we're calling out Nathan Collins doing really well back-to-back on different weeks. Gabriel and Timber as an Arsenal double up. Mickey van de Ven from Spurs, based on the fixtures that they have coming up as well. Malik Tor for Newcastle, being the one fit defender that they'll want to play week after week. Matty Cash for Aston Villa because of his attacking threat as well. And then Tarkowski for Everton. Good goal scoring and a hell of a good def con as well, and a really good rotation player as we go into these next dozen weeks or so. Looking at the midfield, Spurs still with issues in midfield, but now getting bolstered by Conor Gallagher joining them. Let's see how that will play. Maybe a double pivot with him and Xavi Simons in there. Then you've got Dewsbury Hall still out for Everton, unfortunately. Ilanga and Murphy out for Newcastle, and Palmer doubtful for Chelsea. Really what it means is that they're managing his minutes at this moment in time so that they can hold on to him for the longer run in the season. So just watch out for that. In terms of picks, Aston Villa double up of Rodgers and McGinn. These are the options because they're really good attacking threats. Reinders and Shirky at Manchester City. You can add Semenyo to that. He's had a few minutes in the Cups. I'm not sure how that will translate in the league, but it's up to you if you want to go that way. Brian Mbeumo's back from Manchester United, and it's odd that we're calling him out when they take on City and Arsenal back to back. However, he's a man on form. Manchester United have looked to be improved, even though the results haven't been there. He's back, and Ahmad is back. That right-hand side is going to be buzzing again from this week. Anthony Gordon is called out for Newcastle because of him being so quick and tricky, but Bruno Guimaraes is the guy banging in goals at this moment in time. For Arsenal, Trossard is always a risk of minutes, but always seems to be returning. So quite a good pick if you want to go that way. Rice and Saka are the two stalwarts there. Rice getting in really good with the free kicks, dead ball situations as well. Saka unfortunately having to share penalty duties with Gyökeres, so his goal threat has diminished quite a bit since last season. For Liverpool, we're calling out Szoboszlai and Wirtz. Wirtz is back again, so the chance for him to also get in with the scoring. And Szoboszlai, of course, always a threat with those dead ball situations. Then going to the forwards, finally that list of forwards that are out is dropping. Unfortunately, Richarlison adds to it. Chris Wood is still out, so this is pretty much the season for him. Rodrigo Muniz as well. Alexander Isak still recovering from the surgery. Eddie Nketiah still out for Newcastle. And Liam Delap, unfortunately for Chelsea, not Crystal Palace, is doubtful. And then we're looking at the picks. So Erling Haaland is a no-brainer, guys, as equal Thiago. If you don't have both of them, you are running a serious risk. Then you have a choice of your third striker. It could be Calvert-Lewin. Definitely not Richarlison this week. And then you've got Ollie Watkins, Jared Bowen possibly against Spurs. Walter Marder for Newcastle. You could trade that in with Visa. And then we have Raul Jimenez for Fulham. Not a bad fixture this week against Leeds. Ugo Ekitike for Liverpool coming back after that knock and missing last week. A chance for him to score against Burnley. And then Dominic Solanke, one of the big scorers from a couple of seasons back. ready to make a debut back for Spurs, but we're not sure how many minutes he's get. So we're also calling out Matisse Tell as a chance for an opening striker. But you can decide which one of those you want to play. But that's the call outs from our end. So that's what all we have for now. After a little bit of a break, time to get back into Premier League action. Let us know who you think will win the Manchester Derby this week. I'm all in for United. Let's see how that works out. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notification buzzer. And until the next time, so long for now.